Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to our first look for Wild Rift patch 4.2a. This is a huge patch. You would have thought that this patch might have been fairly small because they just released such a huge patch in 4.2. No, they're going all out in 4.2a. You can see here that there are so many buffs here to look through. And then not only that, we got a second page after this as well, which has a whole bunch of nerf system changes and everything like that as well, and a bunch of adjustments at the end. So there is a lot to go through in this video. So hopefully you'll be able to sit back, relax, and enjoy me talking through all of these changes that will be coming out in the next patch, which the next patch is roughly going to come out on Thursday, which is the 8th of June. And then the patch notes, the official patch notes, will be on the 7th of June, which is on the Wednesday. But there are a lot of spicy changes here. I'm really excited for the new patch, especially obviously because there are quite a few ADC buffs as well, which I think make it very exciting. Right, let's go into the champion buffs to start off with. Like I said, a whole page of champion buffs. There is a lot here to talk through. First, Akali's getting a base armor increase by 4. This will help her a little bit in the early stages in the game, especially in the Baron lane against bruisers. I always mention this about Akali, that Akali does struggle against bruisers a lot in the Baron lane and can struggle against AD assassins in the mid lane, because Akali is a very squishy champion in the early game. She's not supposed to be strong in the early game. She's supposed to be able to scale up, farm up, and then in the mid late game, she's supposed to be able to be that assassin that can jump onto backline carries and deal a lot of damage. So the base armor is pretty nice to help her survive in the early game, which I think is okay. And then her 5-point strike base damage is going up by 5 every rank. This doesn't really mean too much. 5 damage is 5 damage on base damage. It doesn't mean too much. You'll see maybe you'll be dealing a little bit more damage, but to be honest, it won't make that much big of a difference. I think these are more like quality of life changes. There's not really much that this will change in terms of Akali. I mean, I thought Akali was already strong. I didn't think she really needed buffs, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm not really too sure. But yeah, base armor increased by 4. That's really nice. 5-point strike base damage going up by 5 at every single rank, which is also cool. So first champion out the way, just about 20 more to go. So we're getting there slowly but surely. Darius, his bleed damage is going up by quite a bit, actually, going up by 3 damage per stack in the early game and 3 damage per stack in the later stages of the game, which I think is going to be quite nice. But they are reducing the damage to monsters to 150%. Actually, I don't know why this is not on champion adjustments, because I'm pretty sure this is a nerf. Instead of being 200% damage, it's now 150% damage, which I'm pretty sure is a nerf. I'm trying to think why it shouldn't be a nerf, but I guess it's more of a buff because, you know, your bleed per stack is going to be dealing more damage. I mean, this is just to everything. I guess what they've done is they've allowed Darius to get more bleed damage just from everything, and then they've just nerfed the monster damage a little bit because they're kind of worried about buffing the bleed stack to everything and then Darius being too strong in the jungle. So they've just slightly toned this down, but obviously they buffed up the damage overall. So I think it's a pretty nice buff for Darius. Definitely going to help him a lot in the early game. And obviously Darius's bleed damage does so much, especially when you can pull someone in, stack them up as well, especially with your healing that you have, and then you have your ultimate at the end when you have maximum bleed stacks. So I think this will definitely help Darius a lot. Again, I think Darius is in a pretty decent position. I think he's like S tier at the moment already. So this is just going to buff him even more and make him even stronger than what he was before. So I think pretty nice changes. Jungle Darius will still be a thing because you have the bleed per stack damage going up. Monster damage is going down a little bit, but doesn't really mean too much. All right, first AD carry to look at this patch. So Ezreal was one of the champions that didn't actually get the base attack speed and the base attack damage per level. This has now been changed. Ezreal has now gone up in terms of attack damage per level, which is really nice for Ezreal because it will give him a little bit more damage on his abilities. Base attack speed honestly doesn't mean too much. It doesn't mean that much at all. Like for Ezreal barely auto attacks. If anything, it just helps him in the early game trade a little bit better, maybe proc Kraken Slay a little bit more. You have like a little bit of attack speed from Trinity Force that maybe this will help scale up Ezreal's attack speed a little bit. Again, doesn't really mean too much. The one thing with Ezreal is that he mainly just sits back and uses his abilities, which there is one thing now with Manamune now working on abilities. is that some of you might have realized with some of these champions, like Varus, like Corki, like Ezreal, that you run out of mana quite quickly now, because the mana mune now works on abilities. So you're actually running out of mana very, very quickly. So you need to be careful when landing your abilities and using your abilities, because you don't want to make sure you run out of mana. So that's one of the downsides at the moment with Ezreal and mana mune. But overall, you know, I still think Ezreal is in a pretty fine spot. The reason why I haven't played Ezreal yet, I haven't done the Ezreal guide, is because Ezreal didn't really, you know, need a guide. Nothing changed for him at all, basically. But now I'll definitely play Ezreal to test out some of these changes. Mystic Shot base damage, again, going up by 5 at every single rank. Again, doesn't really mean too much. Help him a little bit in the early game. These base damage numbers going up kind of affects more of the early game than anything else. Like the late game, you're not going to feel the 5 extra damage. Early game, you're probably going to feel a little bit of the 5 extra damage that you're dealing with Ezreal. But yeah, I think the base attack speed means that maybe Kraken might be more viable now. I still think Conqueror is the best rune, but Kraken Slayer is definitely very, very strong as well. But with the Mystic Shot base damage going up by 5 in the early game, it's also quite nice. So maybe you might see Kraken Slayer a little bit more popular than Conqueror, but I still think Conqueror is by far the best and go-to rune right now to go. And then the True Shot Barrage cooldown going down by 5 seconds at level 2 and 10 seconds at level 3. And it's also going to go down by a little bit more because you build a lot of ability haste in your build. Mana Mune, Trinity Force, Serrator's Grudge, all of these items have ability haste, so that's going to reduce the cooldown of True Shot Barrage even more. So really, really nice to see that Ezreal is getting some changes. I mean, Ezreal's a champion that is still okay. Like, I still think Ezreal is strong, but the problem is that he was kind of hit a lot by everyone building the lifeline shield. The immortal shield bow means that you couldn't really 1v1 anyone, and it's really difficult to try and 1v1 someone. Now with the changes that's happened to immortal shield bow, which I'll get into a little bit, plus the Ezreal changes and the Ezreal buffs that are coming in, I definitely feel like Ezreal is going to be in a lot stronger spot. Maybe it might be able to sneak into my S+ tier, because I was like, Ezreal S tier for now, because Immortal Shield Bow was so strong. But again, he's such a strong champion. But with these changes, maybe he might go up into S+ tier. But again, overall, really, really nice changes. I think this will definitely help him out a lot. Galio Hero's entrance cooldown going down by 10 seconds at every single rank. I think this is okay. I didn't think he needed this, to be honest, especially in competitive play. Galio's support is very, very strong. Even in solo queue sometimes, Galio's support can be very, very strong. So reducing his cooldown of his ultimate by 10 seconds is kind of scary, because Galio is always the champion that can roam around anyway, so your ultimate can make a lot of impact, especially in the big dragon fights or Rift Herald or even Baron fights. Galio can definitely make a lot of difference with that, so that'd be very interesting. Graves is actually getting a buff as well. I think Graves is actually in a pretty decent spot because of the Immortal Shield Bow. I guess because Immortal Shield Bow getting nerfed, I guess they're just giving some more love to like champions like Graves, Master Yi as well, and maybe some other champions that build Immortal Shield Bow. Yeah, and Vayne as well. So maybe that's the case. Not really too sure. New Destiny crit. Obviously, this got nerfed in the previous patch. This actually got nerfed. I think this is just a revert, in my opinion. I think this is just a revert, because I think it was 130% damage before and 140% damage before, but they nerfed it because they were worried about Infinity Edge and Shield Bow being very, very strong. But I think they've just reverted the changes for Graves, because this was the nerf that came in before, and this was the live damage numbers on the patch before, but now they're just reverting it back to what it used to be. So a little bit of buff to crit Graves. I played like 1 or 2 games of Graves. Haven't been able to play him too much, but I'll definitely give him a try for sure in this new patch, because I quite like playing Graves. I think Graves is pretty cool in jungle, especially with Immortal Shield Bow as well. So I think that is very, very nice. So quite a lot in terms of extra damage, 10% damage if you have Infinity Edge and if you don't have Infinity Edge. So again, pretty damn nice buff there. Kayn, more buffs to Kayn. Honestly, I think every single patch for the last God knows how many patches, Kayn just gets like a full list, nearly a full page of buffs. Like, it's absolutely disgusting. But these are all to do with Darken Form. So everything up to here is all to do with Darken Form. So Darken Scythe energy required for transformation is now 7,000 souls instead of 8,000. So you get your Darken Form sooner. Darken Scythe energy gained from damaging ranged champions from 18 to 24. Okay, interesting. Oh, actually, I think this is just Positive energy required for transformation. Oh, I think this is actually on both transformations. Because then it says here, gained from damaging range champions, gained taking down long range champions. I think these are both for blue form. I think this Dark and Scythe energy gain from damaging range champions and taking down long range champions. Even though it says Darken at the start, I think that's his just normal passive. I actually don't think that's his passive for just red form. I thought it would be red form, but I guess it's not, because I mean red form is called Rust anyway. So I guess this is a buff to both red and blue Kayn, because blue Kayn looks like he's getting a buff as well to being able to stack your souls a lot quicker, which is quite cool. So you get to your blue form quicker. So damaging range champions, cool buff. Downing long range champions, cool buff. Shadow Assassin, oh there you go, here look, Shadow Assassin bonus damage. My god, they're buffing Shadow Assassin again. What is this early game damage? You're getting like a 6% increase in early game for Shadow Assassin form. My god, they're just buffing Shadow Assassin over and over again, and you don't even need that many souls anymore to upgrade into like red or even blue Kayn. So that's crazy now. I mean, late game is not too much because when you have a few items, you're still really strong, but wow, they're buffing this even more. Blaze Reach bonus attack damage ratio is also going up, so the second ability is also going up in damage. Mana cost of the third ability is going down, and the attack damage ratio is also going up. So this is actually mainly blue Kayn changes again, or blue Kayn buffs again, the Shadow Assassin form, because blue Kayn, both. So I guess overall it's just both, but I mean, this is crazy. Like they're just buffing it over and over again. Now you're going to be able to get your blue form a lot quicker. You're going to be able to get both forms a lot quicker because you only need 7,000 souls instead of 8,000. So I think that is pretty damn spicy to see Kayn get more buffs. I mean, I tried Shadow Assassin Kayn. He still feels kind of slow. The thing is now is that you kind of want to build Man Immune on Shadow Assassin Kayn because the item works on abilities and is very, very strong. But the problem is that it's very slow to stack up. Like it takes you forever to stack up Man Immune. So you always have to kind of go for Ghostblade as your first item and then Man Immune, which kind of delays that spike of being able to deal a lot of damage. So that's kind of the worrying part about building Man Immune Kayn. But these buffs make it really, really nice for Kayn now. Really, really nice. Yeah, I'll definitely have to try him out again for sure. I mean, I tried a few games on him. Didn't really work out too well, but I definitely have to try it out again. Taste of Fear base damage. So Kha'Zix is getting a little bit of buff, 5 base damage on his first ability. Again, doesn't really mean too much, to be honest with you. Late game, you're not really going to feel this because you already have so many items. You already have so much armor penetration that you're never going to feel it. Early game, maybe it helps his jungle clear ever so slightly. Probably, again, you won't really feel the changes to this. Again, these like 5 damage buff here, 5 damage buff here, 5 damage buff here. They're just doing a few quality of life changes just to, I guess, test the waters in a way to see what these changes would actually do for the champions, which is quite nice. Mossy base damage going up by 2, and also the Alpha Strike, the first ability, going down by 1 second cooldown at every single rank. This is kind of crazy, actually. I did not think that they would buff the Alpha Strike cooldown. I thought they would try and, buff like maybe the on-hit damage or something, or maybe the buff the attack speed or something like that, maybe, but they're buffing the cooldown of the first ability instead, which is quite scary because his first ability is, or can be, very, very strong, obviously in the later stages of the game. I think items like Navori Quick Blades can still be used on Master Yi to lower the cooldown of Alpha Strike even more. Shield Bow is pretty good on him. Phantom Dancer is obviously very, very good on him. So yeah, I mean, I haven't played any games of Master Yi yet. I've seen a few Master Yis. I mean, Master Yi still runs into the same problems as before, is that he's really easy to kite. He's not really tanky, so he takes a lot of damage. So yeah, I still think he's going to have the same problems as what he did before, and I don't think none of that is going to change, even with this little buff that they're getting. Miss Fortune's getting some love. Miss Fortune's getting some base attack damage. The base attack damage get increased by 2, which is kind of cool. And then the passive, the love tap bonus damage when attacking a new champion, is going up in the early game and up in the later stages of the game as well. Okay, this is actually going to help Miss Fortune's early game damage quite a lot. You got a buff 2 damage here on Miss Fortune, and you got a buff in terms of like, what is this, like 5% increase in damage in the early game. This helps her first ability as well, because with your first ability it works as like 2 procs of your love tap bonus. So when you're bouncing this off a minion and then hitting the champion behind, this will definitely increase her damage a lot. I mean, base attack damage is also pretty nice. I've tried a few games of Misfortune. I think Misfortune with like SS Reaver works really well. But other than that, I don't think like Misfortune is in a pretty good spot. But again, pretty nice buff for Misfortune. I'll take it. It's pretty nice. Definitely have to try her out again for sure. Pantheon's getting some buffs. Pantheon's like one of the champions that I don't really play too much. Base mana going up by 30. Mana regeneration per level is going up. So some pretty nice numbers there actually, for base mana and mana regeneration. Means that Pantheon can maybe use his abilities more often to poke during laning phase. Maybe that's one of the struggles with Pantheon at the moment, is that you can't really use your abilities to poke during the laning phase because you run out of mana so quickly. So this would be really, really nice for him, the laning phase. In jungle, doesn't really mean too much to Pantheon. Comet Spear bonus attack damage ratio going up by 10%. Pretty nice. Comet Spear Mortal Will bonus attack damage ratio. So this is the empowered version of the first ability. The attack damage ratio is also going up. Comet Spear pull down return on not releasing. Okay, so if you don't release your first ability anymore, and if you just leave it to expire, you get 60% of the cooldown back instead of 50%, which is pretty nice. So if you feel like your first ability is kind of useless and you don't really need it, then you can always just, you know, wait for it to expire and then get 60% of the cooldown back, which is pretty nice. Grand Skyfall damage bonus attack damage ratios also going up by 10%. So it's a pretty nice buff actually to Pantheon overall. Buffs to his first ability by quite a lot, buffs to his ultimate, buffs to his AD ratio, and again a buff to his laning phase, because the base mana regeneration will definitely help him a lot during the laning phase. So some pretty nice buffs. Some of these buffs are crazy, by the way. Like, look, it's a full page of buffs on the patch that we just had a big patch, and now we have an even bigger patch. So it's like, what the hell is going on? Like, so much changing, which is nice for, like, you know, content creators like us, because it means we, you know, keeps us on our keeps us on our toes, I should say, and just allows us to make more fun content for you all with all these changes, which is pretty nice. Pike base armor per level going up by 0.7. Base magic resist also going up, so it makes Pike a little bit tankier. You won't really feel this in the early stages, but you definitely feel this in the later stages of the game. This is nearly going up by 1, so you're getting like extra 14 armor at level 50. 14 magic resist, sorry, here at level 15. And then your armor is going up by 0.7, so it's like an extra 8 or 9 armor at level 15 or something like that. Maybe a little bit more. So yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. Probably like 10. You probably get 10 armor at level 15, so it doesn't really make too much of a difference, but makes him a little bit tankier, which is kind of cool. Passive gives the ground one's sword damage cap. So the sword damage cap before was 60% of your health, and 140 plus 800%, the lowest value of the bonus attack damage. Now it's 65% that you can store of your health and 160. Wow. Again, that's pretty big. That's like 20 base, not 20%, 20 base and 5% of your health now. Huh. That's actually pretty nice. Okay, so you can store some more damage now on your passive, which is pretty cool, which means this basically is the part of your gray health. So that means it's the part where you can like turn invisible or go out of combat, and then you'll be able to heal that health back up. So you can take a lot more damage now, get that little bit of gray health, and then go back out of combat and heal that back up, which I think is kind of nice. Bonus skewer base damage going up by 10 at every rank. Now this will actually make a difference. I think 10 damage is a lot more than buffing it by like 5 damage, for example. So this is actually really, really nice for Pike. This will help him a lot during the early game, help him a little bit with damage, also help him kind of a bit in terms of, you know, jungle and mid lane doing more damage, clearing the mid wave, clearing the jungle as well. And death from below execute threshold going up at level 2 and level 3. So this means that the champions don't need to be as low on health to try and use your ultimate to execute them, which I think is kind of crazy, because I already think that the health that the threshold is at the moment is already quite high, but they're buffing that even more to make it even higher. So yeah, instead of 375 it's 400, instead of 500 it's 550, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, it's like, you know, you don't need to do like 50 damage, or you don't need to do like an extra 25 damage. You can just use your ultimate and just boom, just execute them. Obviously you have to land your ultimate in the first place, but still pretty nice. I think these are some decent changes to Pyke. I think Pyke's still really, really good carry. The thing is about most of these buffs, like some of these champions are still like okay. Like Akali was okay, Darius was okay, Ezreal was okay. Galio was like, I guess, kind of meh. Graves was like okay. Kane, I guess, needed more buffs. Kha'Zix was okay. Obviously, Mosty's not that great. Misfortune's not that great. Pantheon's not that great. Pyke was okay as well. So like some of these champions were already okay. But like buffing these champions by a lot is very, very scary. Like very, very scary. Move on to the next champion set passive. So pick grip right hook bonus damage was level 5 plus 50% of your bonus attack damage, and now it's level 7 plus 50% of your bonus attack damage. I don't really understand this. I don't know why it says level 5 and level 7, because if I was to read this without it saying that it's a buff, I would think that like you would get bonus damage at level well, not at level 5, but you get like level 5's bonus damage plus, I guess that's what it is. Like before you get level 5's bonus damage plus 50% of your bonus attack damage. Now it's level 7's bonus damage plus 50%. So it's like 2 level difference on your bonus damage now, which I'm not really too sure exactly what this means, this passive. I mean, obviously it's a buff. It's just a buff in terms of damage with levels. Don't really know how this relates in game itself, but if you know about sets passive more than me, then let me know. This level 5 to level 7 kind of doesn't really make sense. It's not like a base number, you know. It's not like, I don't know, 44%, or it's not like a base number. It's like a level plus 50%, which is kind of strange. Haymaker ability damage. So before it was 25% plus 0.2% bonus damage of your grit consumption. Sorry, nearly completely forgot the word. Now it's 25% plus 0.25% of your bonus attack damage. Okay, so buff by 0.05% of your bonus attack damage, which with that you build quite a lot of attack damage. Hullbreaker, the Divine Sunderer, Black Cleaver. You could maybe go Blade of Ruin King as well. So I guess you do get quite a lot of attack damage. So you have to probably add this up to see how much more you can get now in terms of damage with 0.05% bonus of your attack damage. Small buff, doesn't really mean too much. I think this one, I don't think the Haymaker one means too much. If anything, the Pick Grit one, the passive, is the one that means a lot. So I have to wait and see with that one. Urgot, the second ability on hit effect ratio. Yeah, I mean, I moved Urgot down the tier list because I don't think Urgot is that great in the moment, especially because it's an AD carry meta. Urgot can get kited very, very easily. But a Purge on hit effect ratio going up by like 30% is kind of crazy, and Fear Beyond Death attack damage ratio also going up by 30%. So these are some pretty heavy buffs. 30% increase on second ability plus 30% increase on your ultimate. These are 2 pretty heavy buffs, which I think are going to be really, really scary for anyone playing against the Urgot, really, especially with the ultimate as well. If you can land your ultimate, then it's quite a lot of damage. I mean, your ultimate doesn't really do a lot of damage anyway, but the damage buff is always nice. And then the on-hit effect ratio is also going up. So it means that every single time you go around a target, or you basically, you know, hit a target, then you're going to be dealing more damage. So again, pretty nice. And last champion, hopefully you can see it. Oh, you can't actually see Vayne down here. I might have to zoom it out a little bit. Okay, you can't see Vayne down here. Do I do this? I think I do this. Hold on 2 seconds. I think I have to do this and move this up and then move this down. There you go. Now you can see Vayne. There you go. I wasn't forgetting about Vayne down at the bottom. But yeah, Vayne base attack speed. Whoop, I didn't want to do that. Vayne base attack speed going up by 10%. So Vayne was one of the only champions that didn't actually get this base attack speed buff, and also the attack speed per level buff. But now she's getting it. So now she's going to be insanely strong. Base attack damage going up in the early game means that any attack speed that you build now is going to be absolutely insane. And also a base attack speed per level is also going up. These are some crazy buffs to Vayne. I mean, if you don't know already, then Vayne is always an attack speed champion, because you want to build, you know, lethal tempo. You want to go for lethal tempo. You want to build attack speed items, because your second ability does true damage. Your second ability, every single time you auto attack the same champion 3 times, you deal true damage. So this base attack speed is going to help Vayne a lot in the early stages, but also help her when she builds items like Phantom Dancer in the later stages, because that attack speed building up is now going to scale better because her base attack speed is even higher. So really, really nice changes for Vayne. Very, very cool changes. Again, another champion that I'm gonna have to try this patch. I mean, this patch has a lot of stuff. Like, it has a lot of stuff. Right, I think I'm gonna have to try and reduce this in size ever so slightly to make sure that we can get the next one done. But yeah, that's all the changes with this page. But it's not ending there. We got a second page as well. Here we go. We got a second page, which is the champion nerfs, system item buffs, system item nerfs, and adjustments, which, as you can see, most of these are all to do with AD carries. So I'm going to give you my opinions. I'm going to let you know what I think. And we're going to get straight into this after I have a nice little sip of drink, because this is quite a long video. Okay, Kai'Sa, base attack speed going down. This is pretty much needed because Kai'Sa in the early game was absolutely disgusting. And also, every single time you build attack speed, she goes down by quite a lot. So this is kind of needed. I mean, Kai'Sa by far is the most broken AD carry right now. By far. Like, it's not even close. Kai'Sa by far the strongest AD carry. You could play her in jungle, you could play her in bot lane, you could play her in mid, you could play her in top lane, you could play her pretty much anywhere, and she's absolutely broken. So base attack speed going down, I think that's warranted. I think that's okay. It means that attack speed items are not going to be as good on her anymore. And also her early game, her base attack speed is not going to be that great either. So yeah, pretty big nerf here. A Caffeine Rain, the first ability, damage factor to monsters has been reduced to 50%. Now, your first ability only does 50% damage to monsters now. So that means that you're not going to be able to isolate a red buff or a blue buff and do an insane amount of damage with your first ability anymore. This is no longer a thing. So you have a new factor, which is like damage factor to monsters, only down to 50%. So now it means that, you know, Kai'Sa jungle is kind of gutted because your base attack speed's gone down. The damage factor to monsters has gone down. And as you can see, the second ability is also getting nerfed. I think AP Kai'Sa was actually pretty strong this patch because Manamune is very, very cheap. Your second ability does a lot of damage. Nash's Tooth gives you AD in the early game and then converts it into AP. So I think it was actually really, really nice to go for an item like a Manamune and go for something like an AP Kai'Sa because of how strong it actually was with the changes to all the items and everything like that. So pretty damn cool there. Really, really nice to see that Kai'Sa's getting nerfed because, again, as I said, she's the strongest AD carry. She has a disgusting ban rate at the moment as well. Like, she's banned in pretty much every single game. It's so hard to get Kai'Sa content right now. I mean, I've got a Kai'Sa jungle video coming out, and I've also got an AP Kai'Sa video coming out. So that should be out before the new patch anyway. So you can still give it a try if you want to before the patch actually comes live next week. So yeah, Void Seeker attack damage ratio bonus going down. This needed to happen because you can get your evolve now on your second ability with just building AD items. So they needed to lower this to make sure that she doesn't deal that much damage with her second ability. And then AP ratio bonus has gone down ever so slightly by 10%. But this is the big one, the 20% one for the attack damage ratio for Kai'Sa. The 10% on AP doesn't really mean too much at all. Like I said, the big nerfs for Kai'Sa is definitely the 10% base attack speed and also the 50% damage reduction to the monsters in the jungle. So Kai'Sa, pretty damn hefty nerf. Twitch is also another champion that is getting nerfed. Now, this is an interesting one. I did do an AP Twitch video in jungle. I have played it a few times, and I think it's actually, you know, pretty decent. I think it's actually okay. I don't know if it's like that great. I think the thing is that the only thing about Twitch jungle is his invisibility. It's kind of the same as like Evelyn in a way, but Evelyn can obviously carry more than Twitch. But it's kind of the same way as Evelyn. It's like Wild Rift is a game that you can't really purchase a lot of. You know, you can't just purchase control wards. It's not like PC League where you can purchase control wards, put it around the map, and keep track of champions, invisible champions like Twitch and Evelyn. Obviously, in Wild Rift, it's different. You only have access to like one control ward for the team, unless everyone goes for control ward, which means no one has sweeper, no one has normal wards. So it's very difficult to actually track invisible champions like Twitch and Evelyn. So that's why Twitch jungle has been, you know, quite strong. So what they've done is the Deadly Venom monster damage Deadly Venom monster damage modification is going down to 130% instead of 170%. So this is his passive. So this is like his damage over time from his passive, which was very, very strong, especially with the AP build, because this can scale with AP. So the AP build is very, very strong because you can easily just burst through the jungle camps very, very quickly. It's also going to affect his early game clear as well. So this is pretty scary. Ambush movement speed bonus when not detected on enemy champions. This has been nerfed a little bit, so you're not going to be gaining as much movement speed anymore when using your first ability. I mean, this allowed you to get around the map so quickly. It allowed you to clear the jungle really quickly as well, just get around the map a lot quicker. So I think this is definitely warranted, because most of the time you use your first ability before you get into fights or before you farm the jungle camps, because you get that extra attack speed. You get the extra attack speed, and also you get the extra stacks towards your passive to try and get it to full marks. So I think, again, definitely warranted. Definitely very, very nice change there for Twitch. And the third ability, the damage factor to monsters, again going down. Right, these are some crazy hefty nerfs. 5, 6, like 40% nerfs to the third ability and also the passive, which I find to be some very, very scary nerfs here. Again, these are just like damage to monsters, so this doesn't actually do anything to minions or anything. The ambush movement speed doesn't really do anything either to laning phase Twitch. Obviously it means that he's going to get a little bit less movement speed when trying to join fights and everything, but this doesn't really mean too much. So like dual lane Twitch can still be fine. Obviously very, very weak during the early game with dual lane Twitch. Again, the numbers going down for the monster damage is pretty damn big. On to Varus. Varus is only getting a little bit of a nerf, 5% damage to, so this is the Blighted Quiver Blight detonation damage. So this is basically when you stack 3 stacks of Blighted Quiver, or you stack 1 or 2 stacks of Blighted Quiver, and then you use an ability afterwards. So that's the detonation damage. So before it was 4.55, 5.56 plus 0.02% of your ability power. Now it's gone down by 0.5% base and then 0.01% of ability power. So I don't think this will be too much. I still think AP Varus will still be very, very strong. I mean, AD Varus will still be very, very strong because the ability power won't really mean too much, because you don't have a lot of ability power anyway when you're going AD Varus. It will just be this little 0.5% that will be going down by for AD Varus, but AP Varus will be a little bit hit by it. But again, it's very, very slight nerfs. Like this doesn't really mean too much to Varus. I don't think it will affect too much of Varus. Again, it's just slight nerfs just to make him a little bit weaker. Yone, this is pretty big. Base attack speed going down by 10%. This is actually really, really big. Yone jungle is actually very, very strong at the moment. I mean, Yone and Yasuo in general are very, very strong because of Immortal Shield Bow, Solari Charge Blade, Divine Sunderer, Bloodthirster. You know, all these items are very, very strong for Yone and Yasuo, especially Shield Bow. So them buffing, obviously, Shield Bow down here. Nerfing Shield Bow here, and also nerfing Yone's base attack speed is kind of insane, to be fair. It means that you might have to buy... I don't know if this means you have to buy double attack speed items, because at the moment you only really build 1 attack speed item. Well, kind of 2, because you get Solari Charge Blade, and then you have Immortal Shield Bow, which gives you attack speed. And after that, you normally go for like Divine Sunderer, Bloodthirster, and then maybe like Guardian Angel. So you have 2 attack speed items kind of already, like 1.5, I would say, attack speed items. I wonder if this means you need to go for something like maybe Phantom Dancer instead, to give you some extra attack speed there from Phantom Dancer. Maybe it might... I mean, Solari Charge Blade just gives you so much damage though. So I don't know. You have to maybe test it to see what this actually does to Yone, but this is definitely going to affect him in the early game. He's not going to be able to use his first ability more often because his base attack speed is lower, and it's going to affect him in the jungle as well. Speaking of jungle, the Spirit Cleave maximum damage to monsters is also going down. So, look, oh my god, this is going down by a lot. Like the early game, it's going down by a lot. Like I mean, the later stages of the game is not that bad. It's only like 10 damage. But look at this early game. Okay, they're really trying to gut Yone jungle, because this is a pretty big nerf to Yone jungle with his base attack speed. Definitely affects his jungle in the early game, and this as well. You know, the Spirit Cleave damage in the early game is definitely going to be affected in the jungle. So we're definitely going to have to test out Yone jungle to see how fast his clear is off these nerfs. But they definitely look pretty damn scary. Essence Reaver. Essence Reaver is an interesting item. The cool thing about Essence Reaver is that it works on tick damage. So Lucian ultimate, Misfortune ultimates, and you know, ultimates like that. The weird thing about Essence Reaver is that you have to make sure you use them ultimates at the start of the team fight. Say for example for Lucian, you was to, I don't know, use your first ability first, or use your say for example use your second ability and then you use your ultimate because you want to get some extra movement speed. You're actually not going to get the extra damage from Essence Reaver on your ultimate because you use your second ability before that. So it's kind of awkward in a way. I think it's a very, very awkward item where it's like, you have to be very specific with how you play the champion if you want to get the maximum damage output for Essence Reaver. Misfortune, for example, you can't use your third ability and then your ultimate because Essence Reaver will proc on your third ability instead. Things like that. So it's a very awkward item. They are buffing it though. The cooldown's going down to 4 seconds, which is kind of crazy. 4-second cooldown. The cool thing about Essence Reaver and the passive is that every single time you auto attack, it also reduces the cooldown by 1 second. So I think this is going to be a great item now for Lucian and a great first item now for Lucian, because basically before it was really, really awkward because it didn't really feel that good as a first item. Like you get a little bit of damage and then you have to auto attack a few times and then you could get a little bit damage again on your first ability. Now it's only 4 seconds. If you don't know, Lucian's passive double up means you can auto attack twice. So that's going to lower the cooldown by quite a lot. So I think that's going to be a pretty nice buff to Lucian, and also a pretty nice buff to maybe Misfortune as well. And also the ability damage ratio. So before it was your critical rate times 30%. So it was basically how much crit you have and then times that by 30%. Now it actually has a base percentage, which I think is really, really huge for Essence Reaver. For Essence Reaver, it felt really bad as a first item. Like it felt decent as a first item if you build crit afterwards. And if you get to like 2 or 3 items and Essence Reaver felt really good, they felt really, really shit. Like really, really bad as a first item because you only have 25% crit with Essence Reaver and it just doesn't really do too much. Now actually having a base percentage means that it's actually first item worthy now. It means you actually get some extra damage now from Essence Reaver with your first with it getting a level 1, or not level 1, sorry, with you getting it as a first item. It means you can actually do some damage now, and then it's plus your crit rate times by 10%. So it's basically going to grab your crit rate, which is going to be like 25%, times that by 10, and then it's going to add the two crit numbers to together, or add the 2 percentages, sorry, together. So I think it's pretty good. I think that's a really, really nice change that, like I said, the crit rate times 30% before felt really, really bad, but this new formula looks so much better. And it also getting reduced now by 4 seconds. By 2 seconds means that this is going to be an insane item for Lucian. Like this is going to be really, really good. I'm definitely going to have to try Lucian in the new patch because I think it's going to be very, very strong with these new changes to Essence Reaver. Right, now some of the broken AD carry items. Immortal Shield Bow, everyone knows, is very, very strong right now. The stats are absolutely insane. The lifeline shield is insane. The physical vamp is also insane. Just overall a very, very strong item. They are hitting this item pretty damn heavily. They're not changing any of the stats, which is quite interesting. So the stats are still the same. 40 AD, 15% attack speed, 25% crit rate, and a 5% physical vamp, which I think are still pretty decent stats. The big thing that they're affecting is the lifeline shield. So before it was 200 plus 5 points per 1% crit. Now it's 200. You still get the base 200, but now it's only 3 points per 1% crit. So now it's 200 to 500 shield. Before, if I remember correctly, it was like an insane amount. I mean, 100%, like you can get like 700 shield. So this is like a 200 shield nerf. 200 shield nerf in the later stages of the game. Again, the early game is not going to mean too much. I mean, it's still going to affect you in the early game because shield bow is an item that gives you crit rate, so you're not going to be getting that insane amount of shields for the 25% crit rate that you get. You're only going to get 3 points, so you're losing like 2 points of shield every 1% of crit. So again, pretty damn big. So you're losing like what, 50 shield when you build this as the first item now, which is pretty damn big. And also the Batafura physical vamp, so this is basically when your lifeline shield procs, how much physical vamp you get is also getting nerfed. So some pretty big nerfs to the survivability of Immortal Shield Bow, which I think was definitely needed because this item is very, very strong. But they're also nerfing Phantom Dancer. Now, I don't think Phantom Dancer is near enough nerfed compared to Shield Bow. Additional cost, cool, 500. Total cost, 3,000. Cool, that doesn't really mean too much. 100 gold is 100 gold. That's like 2 minions, 3 minions. Like, kind of minion gives you what? Already like 80 gold, 60 gold, whatever the hell it is. And then a melee minion, for example. Like, this 100 gold means absolutely nothing. And also this also doesn't really mean nothing. The bonus attack speed you get from the passive, cool. 25% instead of 30%. They did not change the passive on Phantom Dancer for it to only work on champions. The reason why this item is so damn strong right now, you can stack it on minions, you can stack it on monsters, you can stack it on towers, you can stack it on wards, you can stack it on major objectives. This the reason why this item is so damn strong is not because of how much attack speed it is, not the gold, like how much gold it is. It's because you can stack the attack speed on anything. Like, you can stack the attack speed before the fight even starts and then get into the fight with free 25% attack speed and also the movement speed. So yeah, I mean, there's me complaining about Phantom Dancer. I mean, I think Phantom Dancer is probably going to be the go-to first item now on most AD carries, with Immortal Shield Bow getting nerfed. I think Shield Bow is probably only going to be good as a later game item or even a second item. I don't think it's going to be first item worthy anymore. Maybe you just don't build the item anymore at all because of the changes that's happening to Bloodthirster. But yeah, I don't think Phantom Dancer is that nerfed at all. I don't think this changes anything. I still think this makes Phantom Dancer really, really strong. Rift Herald, the health lost on charge. So the current health level times 70%. Okay, 7% of current health or 30% of maximum health, the higher of the two. Okay. Current health level times 70%. So 70% of its current health or 30% of its maximum health, the higher of the two. Okay, so I think this is what they're doing is they're trying to stop people from taking 2 or 3 towers with the Rift Herald. Because at the moment, you could take 2, sometimes even 3 towers with 1 Rift Herald. Like, Rift Herald is really, really strong after the changes and the buffs that it's got. So I think with it being like current health times 70% before, like, this was still allowing it to keep alive, like allowing it to stay alive the whole time. It's always like current health times 70%, so it's never 100% of its health, so it would never die from the charge, like, ever. But now it actually has a chance to die from the charge because like 70% of your current health or 30% of the maximum health, the higher of the two. And this is also pretty big because like 30% of its maximum health means that you're going to lose a lot of HP now from the first charge. Because it's never going to be 70% of the current health. That's always going to be when it's lower on health. This 30% of the maximum health is going to be most of the time when it's taking the first charge. So, kind of enough to Rift Herald. I mean, Rift Herald was insanely strong. I mean, it's definitely worth going for Rift Herald instead of Dragons. But yeah, again, pretty nice. Nice enough there for Rift Herald. And then we go to adjustments. So Gragas, the body slam, the new cooldown, the body slam that will now always have a minimum cooldown of 1.25 seconds. I don't know if people saw the Reddit posts, but basically there was a situation where you could just keep using Gragas's third ability over and over again because of the new because the new ability haste Drake. If you get the new ability haste Drake with the triple dragons and also get your ability haste items like Iceborne Gauntlet, Frozen Heart, etc. You could just use Body Slam over and over again. You could keep stunning over and over again, but now you always have a minimum of 1.25 seconds. So no more having fun, unfortunately, with Body Slam. You're not gonna have any fun anymore. Okay, Jhin. I have a video coming out for Jhin, which is happening tomorrow, which explains why Jhin is getting nerfed. The Whisper attack damage bonus going from 5% per level to 4% per level. I have a video coming out on this tomorrow. I've Kai'Sa Jungle coming out today. And this Jhin passive video coming out tomorrow, which basically explains the formula and explains the calculations for Jhin and his passive and the reason why this is getting nerfed down to 4%. Jhin, like this 5% per level was absolutely insane. This gives you like 75% of your attack damage bonus as bonus AD in the later stages of the game. We'll have to work out what the calculations is here. Because it was for 5% it was 75%, but now 4%. Obviously you're going to lose quite a bit at the later stages of the game, because it's not going to be as high as what it was before. You're going to lose like obviously 1% per level, so it's going down by what, like, yeah, 15%. So you're going to get probably like 60% now instead of 75% at level 15. So I'll probably have to test out some new Jhin builds, unfortunately. But yeah, really much needed nerf. Jhin was really strong and definitely needed this nerf. Whisper movement speed bonus for crit ratio. They're giving you a little bit more bonus movement speed instead now, when you're getting like bonus crit. Cool. I mean, crit build was already the way to go, and I still think it'll probably be the way to go afterwards. So yeah. And then Dancing Grenade attack damage ratio is also going down by 5%. Again, 5% doesn't really mean too much. It means quite a bit in the later stages of the game because you actually kind of feel it in a way, especially because you're maxing this ability first. So you'll probably be able to feel this a little bit later on when you start building a lot of attack damage. You'll probably feel it a little bit, but again, yeah, I mean, Jhin needed nerfs. I mean, I hate to say it, even though I love playing Jhin, he needed nerfs. He definitely needed nerfs, and he needed it really badly because he was in a state when he's in a state now that he's just way too strong with these passive changes. Also, the first ability being really strong. And then the last one is Bloodthirster. Bloody hell, we're going for 45 minutes. Bloody Bloodthirster. You get what I mean? Yeah, cool. I'm going to shut up. Right, Bloodthirster, the Lust Adjustment. This is pretty insane. Bloodthirster now having the same attack damage as Infinity Edge is kind of nutty. Like, it's kind of insane. Yes, the physical vamp went down by 3%. I don't think this means too much because you already have the Omnivamp shield on top of that, which I think is really nice. But this item now having the same attack damage as Infinity Edge doesn't make Infinity Edge the highest AD item in the game anymore. It's now actually going to be Infinity Edge and a Bloodthirster, which actually makes it kind of spicy thinking about it. I'm like trying to think of ways of like you can actually maybe include Bloodthirster in your builds, and why I think maybe the, you know, Immortal Shieldbow might not be as good as like Bloodthirster now, for example, because you're not getting as much physical vamp anymore. Instead of getting like 5% or even maximum 10%, you're getting 12% physical vamp. Plus you're getting 15 more AD now for Bloodthirster, which is quite a lot of AD. And also I'm pretty sure the item costs less, if I'm not mistaken. Bloodthirster costs 3,300 and Shieldbow costs Shieldbow's a little bit cheaper. Shieldbow's 3,200. So Shieldbow costs 100 gold less than Bloodthirster, but you're getting like 5 more AD, a little bit more physical vamp. Yes, you don't get a lifeline shield, but you get the shield at the start of the fight. So yeah, pretty nice. I kind of like the changes to Bloodthirster. Them giving the item more AD means that it might be more of a viable item now instead of like a situational item in the end. But that's pretty much everything. 2 whole pages, a whole bunch of changes happening in patch 4.2a. It's going to be a spicy patch. It's going to be a spicy patch. But yeah, all these buffs, all these changes. Again, just a reminder, this patch is going to be coming out next Thursday. The patch notes will be a day before. I'll probably do like to be fair, I don't even know if I can fit this all on a YouTube Shorts. I'll try it. I'll give it a try, see what I can do. But yeah, pretty nice changes. Really nice changes as well. Some AD carry buffs and everything. Pretty damn nice. So appreciate you all. Thank you all for watching this video. Like I said, 48 minutes of going through a first look. It's not normally a thing. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all in the next wild video. Peace.